More black babies are aborted than born in New York City every year. Who would that make happy? And would those people be behind? Would they intentionally be behind this atrocity, this genocide? Before I get to that, I just want to say something positive. I was really pleased yesterday. I was really blessed. We had our pro-life line in front of our church. And we have a new priest. I've spoke about him a few times, and I was really blessed because in the 6 or 7 years I've been back at the church. I was evangelical for 30 years and then came back to the Catholic Church. And time flies. I forget if it's 6 or 7 years I've been back. But this is the first time we had a priest come out on the front lines with us. And there was no mistaking he was a priest. And we were on our church is on the main avenue going through the town, and traffic was heavy Sunday afternoon. And he was out there with his collar. There was no mistaking. And I told him his presence meant a lot to us. There's a difference of having an officer in the Army, in the Pentagon telling you what to do, than having a combat officer in the field with you taking shots. And we were taking shots, nothing like the apostles and the church fathers took in the early centuries. We weren't getting shot, we weren't getting killed, but we were getting cursed at. And, yesterday morning, I had read 2 Corinthians chapters 12, verses 9 and 10. And St. Paul is talking about in his weakness, he is strong. And then he goes on to say that this is why he gladly suffers insults for the gospel of Christ. And, as these girls would go by and give us the middle finger and curse at us, we would pray for them and we would tell them we love them. And we knew that these girls probably heard and they probably committed the mortal sin of abortion. So we prayed for them. But I was just so blessed to have our Father out there with us. And it just means a lot when they're on the front line. There's no mistaking. So getting back to this black genocide in America, it was supposed to be a silent vigil. It's hard for me not to talk, especially when Father comes up and he's next to me. But for the most part, I was silent, praying and contemplating what was going on in our country. And although one aborted baby, one murdered child is way too many, and there's still way too many. I don't know the numbers. Some of you might know. You can put it in the comments, but I know it's in the hundreds of thousands every year in America. But every year I read that it's drastically going down, the amount of abortions people are having. So it's having an effect. Our fight is a fight against evil, and we're having an effect. We're having an impact. We can't stop fighting now. I just read this morning this scholar out of a Catholic University in D.C., Dr. Michael New, a researcher, that just did some research, and he said in red states that in the last election voted for the Republican presidential candidate, abortions were half, as in blue states. So we need to make headways into the blue states. That's where we got to focus. We got to work. Like I said, New York City, more black babies are aborted than born every year. People that care about our African American brothers and sisters, we need to address this because it's not on accident. Who would be happy about this? The KKK, of course, are very happy to hear this. And who's the KKK biggest enemy? Who does the KKK hate as much as they hate black people? The Catholic Church. And it's no surprise that since the very beginning of the Catholic Church, we have a written document, a historical document that most historians date to 50 A.D., why most of the apostles were still alive, called the Didache. And some historians think the apostles may have wrote it. Most historians say it was probably direct disciples of the apostles, men that they literally taught firsthand. But either way, it's dated 50 AD. It's a Catholic Church first catechism, and it condemns abortion as a mortal sin, as murder. You know, now science has caught up to the Catholic Church 2,000 years later, and we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is a baby, you know, and this is why there's less abortions. The left wants to say it's because there's more birth control. No, there's less abortions because people know it's a baby now. The left lied for years saying it was just a blob of tissues, but with 3D and 4D ultrasound and, you know, just basic biology, you know that life begins at conception. So the only choice is, do you murder your child or do you let your child live? This is why abortion is getting less frequent. But we got to get the message out, especially to our African American brothers and sisters. And it is getting out because the last election, President Trump, in spite of the left-wing media 24/7 calling him a racist, got more African American votes than any Republican in recent history. So the message is getting out to them that the people they think are their friends are killing them, literally killing them. It's no coincidence that the same party that's in bed with Planned Parenthood night and day, rubbing each other's backs, the Democrat Party, is the party that started the KKK, is the party that put in place every single Jim Crow law that existed. It's no coincidence that the Democrat Party was the party that voted against every civil rights law. It was the Republicans that got them passed. And, you know, the old argument was, well, all those racist Democrats became Republicans. Well, now with the information age, it's very easy to look up everyone, and I've done this, and I've named them in past videos, and the only one that became a Republican was Strom Thurmond. Hundreds of them that voted against civil rights and voting rights laws for African Americans stayed in the Democrat Party. In fact, one of their great leaders that Joe Biden eulogized at his funeral, Robert Byrd, was their majority leader in the Senate as late as the 90s, was a former Grand Kleagle of the KKK. Robert Byrd, former leader of the KKK, was the Senate majority leader for the Democrat Party as late as the 1990s. And at his funeral, I think it was in 2010, Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton both said this guy was my mentor. So the media is run by Democrats. The billionaires that run the big techs are silencing pro-lifers. The newspapers that are run by Democrats are silencing pro-lifers. But we're getting the word out anyway. And our African American brothers are seeing the light. They realize they've been tricked. You know, Planned Parenthood was started by a woman named Margaret Sanger, who bragged that she loved giving speeches at KKK rallies because they were so enthusiastic for her message. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, said, "We need to eliminate the Negro race because they're like weeds. And the way we're going to do this is to put sterilization clinics in black neighborhoods." Today, 90% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in black neighborhoods. She also said we need to get a few charismatic reverends, because they're respected in the black community, to convince the black people that killing their babies was loving their families. And you see, I grew up in the hood. You'll see billboards in the hood with beautiful African-American girls, and it'll say, abortion is health care. And today, in the gospel of New Age, the false gospel of New Age, Oprah Winfrey could be considered one of the reverends. She was on a billboard herself saying abortion is health care. So she's even deceived. She's even deceived. 40% of abortions are performed on African American women, but African Americans only make up 12% of the population. At the rate they're going, they will be eliminated. This genocide will eliminate the black race in America, because the black race is the only minority race that's in decline. Hispanics are growing in numbers. Asians are growing in numbers. Our black brothers and sisters are not. We need to get the word out. The pro-abortion party is not their friend. No matter what they say, they're killing them. So we need to vote pro-life, and we need to spend our money pro-life. So if you are buying or selling real estate, go to realestateforlife.org and tell them Blue Collar Catholic sent you. And you will be assured that you will be dealing with a pro-life company, a pro-life realtor, and the most experienced professional realtor that's available. God bless, and stay Catholic.